Hi, welcome to part 5 of living a healthier lifestyle. I'm going to focus on a little bit about sugar. And I want to share personal testimony, and I think I may have mentioned it in one of my other videos. But all of us acquire bad habits in our lifetime. And in my lifetime, I acquired a very bad habit. And I always remember my mom reprimanding me and scolding me and telling me, Nancy, you have to stop this, you have to stop this. So, what was she talking about? It was my consumption of sugar. And I remember at the age of, actually, I was in the second grade. I remember this distinctly. I would take my few cents, my 10 cents, and go to the neighborhood candy store and purchase myself a bag, a little small brown bag of nothing but candy. And there was a kid in my class. I remember his name so distinctly. That's because we had a real thing going on with candy. His name was Peter. And Peter and I exchanged candy. We loved candy. And I consumed candy right through on up to adulthood. And I remember, especially in high school, you know how hard we all work. And I remember traveling the trains, and I had potato chips in one hand, M&Ms in another, Payday in another, pocket somewhere, and I just consumed candy. It was crazy. And one of the unhealthy things that I've done in my life, and truly I was an addict. I craved sugar, and I had such an imbalance of nutrients in my body. It was really, I may have looked okay on the outside, but the inside, I was really a ticking bomb. And eventually, my gallbladder went bad on me and had to be removed. And to this day, I have like a test tube of all of the stones that were in my gallbladder. And it was from the imbalance of foods that I had consumed throughout my lifetime. So I'm without a gallbladder today. And that's why I want to talk about sugar. And eventually, I did develop prediabetes, and I'm no longer pre-diabetic because 6 years ago I changed the way I consume foods and the way I consumed sugars. And whatever addiction you might have, there's a pathway that we create in our brains with any kind of addiction that we might have. Some people have pornographic addictions, others have smoking. In my case, it was sugar. And that's why I have to steer away from seeing the sugars and the cakes and all the goody stuff and potato chips. I love all of that. It's not to say that I don't ever binge, because sometimes I do. But I don't live that way anymore, consuming sugar in my system. Otherwise, today I would not be a pre-diabetic. So I value my health, and I've decided to make a change in the way I eat. Let me tell you something about sugar. Sugar is addictive. Sugar is addictive. Some people are addicted to salt consumption. Some people don't really care about sugar and candy and all that junk food because it's junk. It's poison. It's there's no nutritional value in added sugar. Steer away from that when you're looking at packages. Steer away from white, high fructose corn syrup, honey, molasses, anything that's high in that sugar content. Because I've got to tell you guys, and I mentioned this in part 4, that every 4 grams of added sugar, sucrose, fructose, galactose, lactose, these are all sugars. Every 4 grams of sugar that's added is equal to 1 teaspoon of sugar. So let me give you this formula. If you consume hidden sugars, and today I picked up a couple of packages in Costco, and I was looking at the sugar content in food packaging, and it said 8 grams of sugar. Then it said added sugar 5 grams. So that's 13 grams of sugar right there. And when you think about it, every 4 grams, 13, that's 3 teaspoons 3 teaspoons of sugar. It's like adding 3 teaspoons of sugar in water, and you decide that you're going to drink that. If you consume 26 teaspoons of sugar a day through the fruit drinks, pasteurized fruit juices, 26 teaspoons is easy because there's a lot of hidden sugars in these packaging. In addition to what's, seen and added, which they describe in the nutritional value of your packaging. 26 teaspoons a day is equal to 20 bags of sugar in a year. 20 bags of sugar in a year. So let me make that more concrete for you. 26 teaspoons times each day, if you consume that 365 days out of the year, you have now consumed 9,490 teaspoons of sugar. 99% of our processed foods contain sugar. 99% of our processed foods contain sugar. 99%. So virtually everything that's processed. And there's a lot of processed stuff. There is, I'm going to read it to you. There is sugary fruit drinks. There's pizza. Again, white bread. Fruit juices, sweetened breakfast cereals. These are all processed foods. Fried foods, pastas, cookies, cakes, French fries, potato chips. Guys, it's processed, and they all have added sugars. And there are hidden sugars in many of the products. Frozen dinners have a lot of sugars, let alone the high sodium content. Most of them are 600 milliequivalents of sodium. The yogurts, especially the fruit yogurts, soups, breads, condiments, oatmeal, hidden sugars in a lot of these products. What's the problem with sugar? It's not a food. The body doesn't see it as food. And what it's doing is creating chronic diseases such as diabetes, type 2, heart disease, hypertension, cancer. Sugar is acidic, and cancer loves an acidic environment. That's why we want to lean towards vegetables. Vegetables are more alkaline, especially our green vegetables, alkaline environment. Cancer thrives in an acidic environment. And the more sugars that we consume, hidden sugars, the overt sugars, the more acidic that environment is, the more cancer cells will thrive. Excess sugar also raises your insulin level. And insulin is a hormone. Its function and its job is to transfer the sugar from our blood to give us the energy that we need in our cells throughout our entire body. It'll raise your insulin level. It may expend your insulin level, eventually causing diabetes, insulin resistance. So that means that your cells are resisting insulin from coming in because we've overtaxed our cellular system with all of this sugar. And then the body becomes resistant to the insulin. Resistance of insulin in the muscles is known as diabetes number 2. Resistance of insulin in the liver is fatty liver. And ovaries is known as polycystic ovary disease. Sugar is deadly. Sugar is caustic. Sugar is toxic. Sugar will increase the possibility of cancer and make the outcome of people with cancer worse. Why do they tell cancer patients to avoid sugar? Because cancer loves sugar and it thrives in sugar. says that insulin changes cancer tumors, telling them to gobble up the glucose. Insulin changes the cancer tumors, telling them to gobble up the glucose. This is an awful, awful outcome of being addicted to sugar. And the diabetes of the brain, they say diabetes of the brain is known as, you might know already, Alzheimer's. It's diabetes of the brain. Facing all of this, knowing all of this, what's the challenge for us today, guys? The challenge is start eliminating the refined sugars. Start eliminating from adding sugar. And the more you do that, some of you may gain headaches because you've been so addicted to sugar that now you start experiencing headaches when you're trying to eliminate sugar from your diet and going sort of cold turkey. But this too shall pass. So what is it that you want? Do you want the sugar or do you want your health? And it's about time we start choosing our health. I just pray that this has spoken to your heart in some way and that you begin to make some significant changes in your journey to healthy living. God bless you and thank you for listening.